CJ here on Smoozing with CJ. So today I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a quarantine update slash what is diabetes video. So over our quarantine this year, about a month ago, my mom took me into the doctor. She just noticing that I wasn't really myself. My hair was falling out. I was sleepy all the time, I was eating all the time, but I had lost almost 60 pounds. And so she took me to the doctor. She kind of thought it was just from being cooped up inside from being quarantined. But we took me into the doctor and I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I spent 3 days in the hospital, 2 of those in ICU. But I'm home now, and my little kitten wanted to join us. This is Esther. Say hi. So I've been diagnosed for a month now, and I've been living with it for a month, and I'm still not completely comfortable with it. But I just wanted to make a video explaining what exactly it is, some of the stuff that I do, some stuff that I have, and just explaining what I have. So, like I said, I have type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is a chronic autoimmune condition that occurs when the body's own immune system attacks and destroys the insulin-producing beta cells of the pancreas. So insulin is a hormone that regulates blood sugar, and it turns the sugars or the carbs, the carbohydrates from your food into energy. And so because something attacked my pancreas has little or no ability to create or produce insulin. So without insulin, the blood sugar, so the carbs or the sugar stays in my blood and can cause serious damage to other organ systems. People with type 1 diabetes inject or pump themselves with insulin into their bodies every day to carefully regulate their blood sugar and basically to stay alive. So I use insulin pens. So here are my insulin pens, and I'll explain more about those in a minute, to give myself insulin. Type 1 diabetes means insulin dependency for life. I could have been diagnosed at any age. In this case, I'm 14. I was diagnosed when I was 14. Some people are diagnosed when they were 2. Some people are diagnosed when they're 30. It threatens devastating complications, demands meticulous planning to avoid life-threatening situations. Type 1 diabetes is not a lifestyle disease. A lot of people mix up type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is caused by, what you eat, what you do, basically your lifestyle. But type 1 diabetes is not something that I can outgrow. It's not contagious. It's not caused by sugar, so it's not something that I ate or did. It's not preventable, and currently there's no cure. But type 1 diabetes means that you're basically unable to produce insulin anymore. Whereas type 2 diabetes is your insulin just doesn't really work correctly, where your pancreas is just so worn out that you don't create insulin that works, basically. And type 2 diabetes can be cured by dieting, exercise, just staying healthy, some medication. Whereas type 1, I'm dependent on artificial insulin. So I have my insulin pens. I have a fast-acting insulin that I take for my food, and a long-lasting insulin that I take for basically everything else. So I take this at night. And I have the needles that go on the end. They're very, very small. And I can give my shots in my belly. I can give them to myself in my arm. I can give them to myself in my leg. But that's how I take my insulin. Also, I have to check my blood sugar before I take my insulin and before meals. So I'm going to show you how I do that. So I have a one-touch Vario that I use to check my blood sugar. And I have this little pin pricker right here. And I have these needles. And I stick it in there. I twist off the top. Put the lid back on. I cock it. And then I have my test strips. And I go ahead and get that out. So this is what my test strips look like. Okay. Now, before, just to clean off my hand, because germs and stuff can affect what the blood sugar reading is, I take a little alcohol wipe, alcohol prep pads, okay, and I just pick a finger, I wipe it down, I wait for the alcohol to dry, and then I have this little button right here, I bring it up, and I prick myself, and then I just squeeze my finger a little bit. The first drop of blood I wipe off because the alcohol can affect what your blood sugar reading is. And then I take my little drop of blood and I put it on my test strip. And my Vario will tell me what my blood sugar is. Now right now it's saying that I'm at 67. Now that's extremely low. So normal range is above 70, but below around 150. When I was taken into the hospital, I was actually at 475, but now I'm back down. So when I'm below that 70 mark, it's called hypoglycemia, and that's a low blood sugar. So some symptoms could be being shaky, pale and sweaty, maybe headaches, hunger, weakness, trembling, and if it gets so bad, I could pass out or become unconscious. Now the best way to treat a low blood sugar is a juice box because it's processed sugars, so they act really fast, or just pure sugar, so like 15 Skittles. So I'm going to go ahead and drink my juice box. And this will raise my blood sugar enough, but I do not take insulin when I'm fixing a low blood sugar. So hyperglycemia, or a high blood sugar, symptoms of that could be nausea, deep sighing breaths, confusion, flushed or warm skin, or drowsiness. So like when my mom took me in, I was constantly sleeping. I was, I couldn't think clearly. And now that we have my blood sugar kind of regulated, I'm doing a lot better. So, and then I gotta make sure that I take out my needle. And I'm going to go ahead and put my tester up. Okay. So, another thing that you can use other than the tester, I have my One Touch Vario, is you can get a continuous glucose monitor, or a CGM. I have the Dexcom G6, and so basically what I have is I have this little monitor on my skin. I have mine on my belly, and it's hooked up to a receiver, and that'll tell you what my blood sugar is. Now this one is saying that I'm 86. That's because with the CGM, it's not taking it like, it lags behind. I forget what exactly my doctor said is, but the needle isn't actually like taking your blood exactly. But so it lags behind. So while this took what I have right now, which was 67, this is saying that I'm 86. And in a few minutes, it'll tell me that I went down. And then I'll be going back up again because I just drank my juice box. But my Dexcom G6 implants, so this little machine right here, implants a transmitter on my skin. And then, a sensor, under my skin. And then I have the Dexcom transmitter, which goes on there and just sends the information to my receiver. Lots of words. But that's a continuous monitor. So it kind of gives me some peace of mind, which I really love. And so like even at night, I know what my blood sugar is. You can also, I use my insulin pens, but you can also get an insulin pump, which, like it sounds, it pumps the insulin into you. So you would write down, or you would kind of, I guess, type in how much carbs you're eating, and it will give you the correct amount of insulin for that amount of carbs. And so there is a difference between sugar and carbs. So sugar is just one type of carbohydrate, where you really need to count all types of carbohydrates. So everything from sugars to fiber. And so I didn't bring one with me, but on food packages, on the nutrition facts in the back, you would look for total carbohydrates. Don't look at sugar, don't look at fiber, but total carbohydrates. And that'll tell you how many carbs are in that. And so you would count out how many carbs are in your meal and take your insulin for that much carbs. And that keeps you from going too high. And you never want to take too much insulin, because that'll make you go low. See, and now I'm getting my low glucose alert. So it's starting to realize that, hey, I was going low. There was something else I was going to talk about. So, like, one pack of 15 Skittles is 15 carbs. So if I was just going to eat flat out Skittles, my insulin to carb ratio is 1 unit of insulin for every 10 carbs. So I would take 1 unit of insulin if I wanted to eat these plain. But if I had a low blood sugar, I would just eat these without taking insulin. And I think that's all that I was going to talk about. So a lot of people worry about the food that they're going to eat. And I will admit that, when I was told all this, I'm now, I've been very cautious of the carbs that I eat. And I'm honestly kind of scared of carbs because I don't want to go too high and I don't want to go too low. But as a type 1 diabetic, you can eat anything you want. Anything. You just have to take the correct amount of insulin to keep your blood sugar from going too high or too low. My cat just walked into the room. And she is a very loud kitten. But, oh, she has her toy. She loves to announce when she has her toy. And so I guess I kind of lucked out because we caught me before I went into a diabetic coma. Hi. But I had gone into what we call diabetic ketoacidosis, or DKA, where your blood sugar is so high that basically your blood starts turning into an acidic material. And that's not fun. But in that case, if you ever get that high, so if you get above 300, you check for what we call ketones, and that will tell you if you've gone into diabetic ketoacidosis. And to fix going into diabetic ketoacidosis, you just give yourself insulin. But, there's so many things that you just have to be careful about as a diabetic. My friends have been telling me, oh no, so we can't go bake anymore? Because every time I had friends over, we would bake. That was my hobby. I loved to bake. But that's not true. I can bake whatever I want, but then also there's so many recipes online that are diabetic friendly, that are low carb, using like sugar substitutes, or instead of using regular flour, a lot of them use almond flour or coconut flour. And so there's tons of resources out there to help understand type 1 diabetes. I know there's the JDRF, the Juvenile Diabetes Research Fund, and they have a lot of resources out there if you want to go to their website, and I'll post the link to their website in the description. I know I love the website Beyond Type 1, and they have so many resources. That's my favorite website. And I started reading some of their articles, and it gave me a little bit of peace of mind to know that I could eat anything and that there were others out there like me. And there's the American Diabetes Association, I think, or fund, but I'll post a link to that website too. And if you want to know more about diabetes, go to those links and do your research. And if you're a diabetic, just remember, it's not going to hinder your life. Definitely when I came out of the hospital, I felt like my life will never be the same. But it can be. You just have to, plan for your insulin and know what you're eating. And just be conscious of what you do. But I've only had it for a month, and I feel like I'm doing good, and that I'm starting to understand what I need to do. So, well, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you guys aren't getting too, I hope you guys aren't going crazy in this whole quarantine mess. But yeah, thanks for watching. Oh, you're crazy.